Yo, what is good YouTube? I am Richie Kim, and today I'm going to be bringing you all the performance review on the brand new Nike Kyrie Flytrap 4. Before we get started, if you all enjoy sneaker content just like this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. But anyways, let's get right into it. As always, starting off with the traction, the Kyrie Flytrap 4 features this wavy traction pattern. It's almost like a modified herringbone traction pattern, just like in a wave form. And the traction on this shoe is pretty good. If you guys are playing on your above average to really clean courts, you guys aren't gonna have any problems at all. The bite is really nice. However, if you are playing on dust, you will need to wipe. There were some issues where if I didn't consistently wipe, I would slide to a stop, and you know, that's just not what you want. So just make sure if you are playing on those dustier courts that you do wipe, because it is very, very necessary in order to have that good bite. But like I mentioned before, above average to really clean courts, you really won't have any problems. You know, the Kyrie Flytrap line is usually, you know, very durable for outdoor use, but I think this time around they're using a slightly softer rubber. So in terms of outdoor use, I'm not sure how durable it's gonna be, but it is a pretty cheap shoe, and I think you will have great traction outdoors. So if that's okay with you, and you know, durability probably won't be the best, but it'll probably be decent. I'd say that the traction is pretty good. But overall for me, for indoor use, I would say that the traction is good. Just, you gotta wipe if you guys are playing on dustier courts. So moving on to the cushion, the Kyrie Flytrap 4 probably features a full-length Phylon midsole, and you do have a rectangular zoom unit in the forefoot. And as far as the Phylon goes, it's pretty stiff, you know. I wouldn't say it's like concrete like in the Kyrie 2, but it is pretty damn stiff. And if you want a lot of impact protection, this is not it. This is definitely not the shoe to get. So yeah, it is responsive though, if you know that's what you like. But yeah, the Phylon just doesn't feel that great. But up in the forefoot, apparently they're using a bigger rectangular zoom unit, and I can actually feel it. It's not the most pronounced feeling. It's just a very, very subtle bounce, but it is better than what's been featured in the previous Flytrap models. So that is one improvement. Overall, this is definitely a cushion setup catered for more responsive players, people who like, you know, just want ultra responsive cushion and no impact protection. Yeah, this is definitely how that cushion setup is. So if you all are looking for that impact protection, this is definitely not it. But if you want to feel really quick, this has definitely got you covered. So moving on to the materials, the Kyrie Flytrap 4 features this really cheap mesh, and yeah, to the touch, doesn't feel that great. On foot though, you know, it does fine. It gets the job done, I guess. But it is definitely extremely cheap feeling, and I really don't like that. Outside of that, you do have some hits of like this rubberized fuse around where the laces are, just to make sure this material doesn't rip, because it is extremely thin, and if that wasn't there, you probably have some issues with the materials ripping. And then as you move towards the back, you do have like this synthetic panel that wraps around the whole back heel area, and I'm not sure what it is, but it feels really cheap as well. I think just overall, in terms of the materials used on the shoe, it is not great. It is extremely cheap feeling, and that same synthetic panel that you have that wraps around on the back half of the shoe is on the tongue as well. So the materials definitely aren't the best in terms of quality, but actually in terms of performance, they get the job done just fine. But I do wish the materials were a little bit nicer, but I understand this is like Kyrie's lowest model. It's the takedown model, and it's kind of what we've come to expect with the Flytrap line. So moving on to the fit, just like pretty much every other Kyrie model, I went up a half size because I'm a slightly wide footer, and I'm really glad I did, because this is narrow. It does run like, you know, narrow like every single other Kyrie shoe pretty much. So I would say whatever you wear in other Kyrie models, go with that size. And for those of you that have never had a Kyrie model, what I would suggest is if you guys have normal feet or narrow feet, go true to size. If you have slightly wider feet to hella wide feet, then go up a half size. And you know, depending on how wide your foot is, maybe even a whole size. Besides that, you know, the fit in the shoe was pretty good. The materials do lie pretty nicely over your feet. There is a slight dead space up in the toe box area, but it's nothing that you notice, especially when you're wearing the shoe. And then everywhere else, you know, I would say that the fit is pretty good. They did do a little bit of molding in this heel area to, you know, just enhance the fit a little bit. So in terms of the fit, you know, I would say it's pretty good. Moving on to the support, I'd say this is probably the best aspect of the shoe. I didn't have any support issues whatsoever, even though the materials, you know, seem really flimsy and thin. They actually, you know, do the job just fine in terms of performance. I didn't have any heel slippage in the shoe. I didn't have any side-to-side movement on the footbed. And in terms of, you know, lateral stability, I didn't have any issues with that as well. This is definitely not the widest base, and, you know, the outsole is rounded, but I never had issues or instances where, you know, I felt like my foot was gonna roll over, or just like the shoe was gonna roll over on itself. I never had any problems with that. And then in terms of that torsional rigidity and stability, as you all can see, this has definitely got you covered there as well. So even though this shoe doesn't seem like it would be the best in terms of support because of all the materials that they use and how cheap and thin they are, the Flytrap 4 actually has really good support. So moving on to the price, the Flytrap 4 retails for $90. And for $90, you know, I would say that this is a shoe that I personally would not play in, just because the cushion is not nice and the materials are not great. And, you know, for maybe like $20 extra, you can get a much nicer shoe. But, you know, if this is something that you're interested in, you like the looks, or, you know, you just want to beat up a cheap pair of shoes outdoors, then I would say probably get this. You know, the 4-foot zoom in is better than what's been featured in the previous Flytrap models. So I think that's an improvement, and I think that'll definitely be useful for outdoor play. And for 90 bucks, you know, you can beat the hell out of the shoe and you shouldn't really care too much. But in my personal opinion, if you guys are just playing indoors, you know, for 90 bucks, I would say spend a little extra money and get something way better than this. However, if you don't mind cheap materials and non-existent cushion, then I would say that you probably won't be disappointed in how the shoe performs. That's pretty much it for this performance review. If you all like this video, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Also, smash that thumbs up button for me, as it really does help me out. And check out this video on my left and on my right, and that's pretty much it. Until next time, peace.